Hey, good afternoon. Today, August 25th, the Committee on Administration is meeting. I'm Vaughn Hedlund, Chair of the committee. We are in room 54 of the county building here in Menominee, Wisconsin. Let the roll show that we have Supervisor Tim Linau, Supervisor Bob Bauer, and Mr. Jim Zahns.
Am I not a supervisor?
Supervisor Zahns. All present along with myself. We have our county manager, corp counsel, and various other members who report to this committee. Our next item is approval of the minutes from July 28th of 2022 meeting. Anyone care to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will approve those minutes.
Okay.
The only thing that I would change on that is the date at the bottom. The date is. Yeah, we're supposed to have our date in July.
Oh, okay.
It is, so I would change that to today's date, July 28th, so
All right.
other than that, I'll second.
Okay, and second it. All right. Any other corrections or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None passes. Do we have any public comment? Anyone?
Oh, number 8, all right, I see.
Anyone who has sent in information?
The only thing,
Go ahead.
and I think it might be best to consider it as public comment, would be an email that was forwarded to all of you from District Attorney Nodolf regarding, so her email says, I noticed the Committee on Administration agenda for August 25th meeting includes discussion of potential 2023 legislative agenda items. I'm respectfully requesting the committee consider requesting pay progression and market-based salary adjustments for assistant district attorneys in that discussion. I've attached a letter that I submitted to the director of the state prosecutor's office in support of my request. Currently, there are 37 vacant assistant district attorney positions in various counties throughout the state. Dunn County's had a vacancy for quite some time, and one of the assistant district attorneys currently employed in this office will be retiring in September of 2023. Having 2 vacancies in this office would be extremely detrimental to the functioning of the office. Pay progression and market-based salary adjustments will assist it in that pay differential and hopefully lead to more applicants. And then she included the letter that she sent to the director of state courts. Is that who she said she sent to, who this person is? Yes.
Right.
So, so I could read that letter as well, but you already stated, I believe.
So again, we cannot make a decision. However, because a legislative item that we bring forward from this committee is a recommendation of something we would like to see added. Anyone here that would not want that passed forward as a legislative item coming from this committee?
Do we need a formal motion to make that, or at this particular time to the, who would it be? Mr. Steen?
We would pass it on to our committee vice chair,
Okay, yeah.
board vice chair who is in charge of the legislative committee. And then, the committee can, decide if they want to add it.
If I may. So you have an agenda item under 6A for discussion only, because I wanted you to have an opportunity to plan what you wanted to do with regard to your legislative agenda. And so you could include that at that point in time if you wish.
Yeah, when we get down to that point.
Okay.
All right, we'll do
We'll
that.
save
We'll
it
just
until
wait till we get to 6A. All right. Staff reports. We had a report from Finance Administration, Human Resources, Criminal Justice Collaboration Division, our county treasurer, our county clerk, and from our IT department. Anyone here have any questions for any of those staff members on the reports?
For the human resources, and maybe Chris could even answer this, it seems like there's a lot of adjustments going on. Weren't they all evaled here just beginning of the year, and now we're adjusting to tweak them in? Is that what it is, or are we just moving people around? Seems like we're
Yeah.
moving this constantly.
Take a crack at that.
At this point, we're going to hear from our Human Resources Director, Janalee Nutter. Janalee, go ahead.
Okay, so we did conduct a class comp study in 2021 for implementation in 2022. However, the employment market has changed pretty drastically in the last 8 months, just coming off of the pandemic and a shortage of workers in the state, and kind of several factors playing into that, which is posing some challenges for recruitment and retention. In some cases, we have had to offer a higher step for new employees in order to get them here. And as a result, that sometimes creates compression issues within their work unit for existing employees. So each request is evaluated kind of based on those factors. And we have had a pretty big increase in the recent months for those challenges with recruitment and retention.
May I? Yeah, it did seem like every time we come in, they're making another adjustment, and since the eval, they're just done, we said 21, but gone in effect in 2022. And I can see where it's hard to get people, because you read your emails, it's just, that people retiring or quitting or moving on, so, all right, just curious on that, thank you.
Right, and of course, we all know the rate of inflation is a lot more fast paced than typical. So that's kind of what we're up against as the year goes on, but hoping to make some adjustments in order to maintain the grid and maintain competitiveness in the market as well.
The other thing about it is that it's also kind of pocketed. Some areas of, some functions receive a good applicant pool, and we're able to bring them in at something within step 1 to 3. And then some areas we're either not receiving applicants, or when we do, they're requesting a much higher starting. We did meet with Carlson Detman, the group that did the classification study. And one of their pieces of information was that it's typically the lower paid end of the spectrum right now that's rising the fastest. So some of, as opposed to maybe some other point in time in the employment world in which it might have been specialty or high level, but now it happens to be the people that tend to be on the lower end of the classification that grid's rising quickly.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead.
Basically, just like anything out on the marketplace, you have to market to the market. And if that's what the market is calling for, you gotta make these little adjustments, and I know they're bothersome,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I understand your position and that you've got to get people. That's all there is to it.
Well, and you don't want to be left with just what's left.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be able to be competitive, to pick people that meet your needs and bring talent to the table. And we can certainly have the conversations about sort of turning down the most experienced people because they're expensive. But that's also not the direction we want to go, at least at this stage of the game, so.
Anything else?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Go ahead, Bob.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, Mr. Chair, but on the treasurer's, that tax settlement, 2021 tax settlement, could you explain that a little more? If she happens to be here at all?
She is not, she is on vacation.
Okay, yeah, it just seems like now we're doing the settlement, but yeah, there's something on the end of this that we're supposed to do later down in the end of the report as a resolution, but and the graph is on it, but it just seems like I'd like to see a little explanation on it.
I think the report was included earlier in the packet, but is relates specifically to the resolution. So it's a separate report that relates specifically to the resolution. So every year, in August, the county settles with all the other taxing municipalities. So whatever taxes they were going to collect or have collected, the county ends up with the money, and then I don't know, stuff has to go back to the state. But the county makes all of the municipalities whole under under state statute. County boards can authorize their treasurer to pay the towns and villages or whatever, any taxing authority, to pay for all of the taxes that haven't been collected yet. So they kind of make them whole. So that has to happen. And then special assessments and like that. The county board can authorize the treasurer to do that too. In Dunn County, we've had, I think I can't, I'll tell you what, I went on a cruise, and when I got back, I got COVID. And so my mind is still a little wonky, but Dunn County for a number of years, for about 5 or 6, 7 years, has authorized the treasurer to settle for unpaid special expenses and special assessments for up to $7,500 per parcel. So they don't do the whole thing. They just do up to $7,500 per parcel. And what's happened is the amount of assessments that the county, even with a limitation of $7,500, the counties is ending up paying quite a lot to some of the municipalities. So what we do is we pay them for what the taxpayer owes them, even though it hasn't been paid yet. Then we get the right to collect it and keep whatever is collected. And sometimes there's a great disparity between what's, the assessment that's on the property and the potential for collection. It generally, it's distressed properties or contaminated properties or what have you. And so she's included a chart in here that shows how over the course of time, what Dunn County pays as part of the settlement is starting to greatly exceed what we end up ultimately collecting. And so, I mean, that's really what it relates to. I don't know we pay them the uncollected taxes. Taxes are taxes. So that's based on the value of the property, the mill rate, the levy, all of that. But then in addition, special assessments can be tagged on to properties. Like, if someone doesn't mow their lawn, the municipality can come in and mow it and tack that on. Or if there's something that has to be done to the property in order to abate a health hazard or something, towns and villages have much greater authority inherently to do stuff like that and just stick it on the tax bill. And so that's the stuff that we're focused on. Those costs are not being recovered as much as we had hoped. And so what the treasurer is proposing is a resolution that eliminates the authority and direction to settle for special assessments and special uncollected special assessments and uncollected special, I think it's costs. Charges. So that would be eliminated by the resolution. So in here, she's just trying to explain that what the county is paying to the municipalities for basically we're buying the debt. So the taxpayer owes money to the village or owes money to the town. We pay the town, then the taxpayer will owe the money to us. And we're not collecting that as well as effectively as we had been in the past. So she's proposing that that part be eliminated in order to prevent the county from basically being a, a financier for the municipalities. So we're paying them, but we're not getting the money back from the taxpayers. They're just not paying it.
Thank you. That really explains a lot. I see that graph and that graph is just, it's a way off.
Yeah, it shows,
Yeah,
it demonstrates just how out of sync the reimbursement, the collections are as compared to what the county is paying. So, you can see like, if you look in this graph in 2021, somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 was paid as part of the settlement, and well, it's still early in the process, but we haven't recovered anything. But if you look at last year, $40,000 was paid and less than, about 8 was collected, which leaves the county basically holding the tab for, $32,000 of unpaid special assessments and special charges that we may or may not collect. It all depends
Yeah.
on the taxpayer.
so the county gets reimbursed anywhere down the line, or we just out the money somewhere?
If
I mean,
no
if you can-
reimbursement comes, the county is, we bought the debt, so the county just, the county owns the ability to collect it, but if the taxpayer doesn't pay it, the county's out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
In that situation, over time, shouldn't that liability potentially be shared with the township?
Well, it isn't part of the settlement. The towns are. That would be the result of the resolution, is that the towns and villages and other taxing authorities would bear more responsibility for the collection of special charges and special assessments that they place on the tax roll. It can result in foreclosure, tax foreclosure, but as a practical matter, the properties that tend to have higher, they're distressed properties. They're properties where the market value is, not greatly, there's no profit to be made from taking the property and selling it. After you pay the taxes, you end up usually still in the hole. And so yeah, the county just owns the right to collect. And it remains out there as a delinquency on the tax roll.
All right, thank you.
What was the reason for doing that in the first place? Because it sounds like kind of a losing proposition for the county, because we're on the hook for this and we're not getting anything out of it.
I think it's easy to characterize it that way now. It hasn't always been like that. In truth, sort of to revert to kind of a familiar or colloquial terminology, we're like the wealthy relative in the family. And we have, there's a caretaking element to it. A stewardship and providing help because we're in a position to do it. In the past, it hasn't been as big a problem, but lately it has increased. And some of it, to be honest, has to do with how municipalities manage their collections and what they're putting on the tax roll. We're getting more and more creative. I'm even looking for ways to put things on the tax roll now. But it hasn't always been a problem. It's just becoming one. And so that's the reason that the treasurer has brought this report and a proposed ordinance to the committee to see if it would be considered. I did not know Sophia was not going to be here tonight, so I'll try my best. Probably already talked through it, but anyway, yeah, it hasn't always been a problem. If you
Okay.
look at the chart, it's just grown. At the time it was done, Dunn County didn't do that. And I think Megan Middlestat was the treasurer at the time. And she's the one who introduced the idea. And it was taken up and approved that there would be settlement, but only up to $7,500 per parcel. But the more parcels you have where that maximum gets hit, the bigger the balance is when you do settlement.
Do you know, is, a fire, for instance, a fire charge? You know, let's say, I guess it's a distressed property, an old house, the old house burns to the ground,
It
fire
could be.
department gets called, and now there's those charges. And is that something that would get put on a special assessment like
I
this?
think it probably is. I mean, towns and villages have different powers than the county does. And of course, we do not have a municipal fire department, so I haven't spent any time at all. But I think that's probably a very good example of something. You know,
Another
so-
example would be like if they laid curb and gutter.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, sure.
something like that, a new sidewalk.
Yep.
And then that just was a special assessment to those households that were impacted by that.
Snow removal might be one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that could result in a special assessment. For the towns, like I know in the village of Ridgeland. There was a house that burned down and the village. Remediated the site, you know, they demolished the. Burnt up shell of the house, dug out the basement, brought in fill and black dirt and planted grass. It was quite an assessment that was on the tax parcel. The owner of the property, of course, was never heard from again, so.
Yeah.
Probably still in the hole.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. Anything else for any of the other departments? Any department have anything that they care to highlight about the report? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consideration of action to be taken by the committee administration, potential 2023 legislative agenda items. And we had that discussion. Anything else? Anyone that wants to add to that discussion? As far as. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just a little bit of a discussion also, the Birth to Three program, which is a state mandated program. And our county basically gets reimbursed to the tune of about $150,000. I think the actual cost is in the range of about $450,000, which is added to our levy to the tune of $350,000. I think from a legislative standpoint, I think we could maybe entreat the legislature to say, open up that squeaky purse a little bit more for the Birth to Three program.
Okay. So our proposed then would be a higher percentage of reimbursement?
Yeah, at this particular time, because I think
Okay.
we're on the hook for approximately $350,000.
Okay, is there, just Chris, you got a lot of knowledge about that program. Is there, do you see a reasonable recommendation in terms of level of reimbursement for that?
So I
Based on those
believe,
types of programs?
I believe that the County Human Service Association and the Counties Association have costed out a request in the at least last biennium, if not the one before that. And so I believe that there would be a dollar amount that we can lean back to look to that. I was thinking that as you identified, I didn't know what this committee had done previously with regard to legislative agenda items, but I thought as you brought items forward, we could then piece together some language if they weren't something that was already addressed and bring it back for your.
Well, and I think just,
September meeting.
bring it to the forefront. There's so many things on the legislative table that, well, as long as we're there, that's, what's the extra condiment out there? You never know.
This seems to me to be a very good, I mean, and the county manager could make a referral to the Health and Human Services Board to deliberate and consider this further, just as with the district attorney's request. Could go to the Judiciary and Law Committee for consideration as to how they want to formulate the language.
Yeah.
I don't think it's inappropriate for it to be discussed here, but
No.
this isn't the only committee that's
that's involved in
responsible
those
for
items.
reviewing
Yeah.
legislative agenda items.
All right, that's all.
No, good. Anything else? Ms. Zons or Ms. Bauer, as far as legislative ideas, improvements, a lot of improvements, yeah. All right. Anything else, Chris? Did you have anything that you want to bring
No,
up? Okay. All right. So we'll forward those and see if we can get those some help with both of those ideas. Thank you. United Way Day of Caring. This came from personnel request. Last year we did this. I guess we, answered their request with agreeing to do it. And what they are asking for, I'll let Jenna highlight that program and what we're looking for.
Sure, thank you. So every year, the United Way of Dunn County puts together a day of caring, which basically allows nonprofit agencies and community-based organizations to submit for half-day projects. So this could include like painting or cleaning gutters or things that they just really need help getting done. So they ask for volunteers to kind of help make this day happen. And last year we came forward and requested the ability for Dunn County to assemble a team and to allow the employees to be paid their regular wage while they are serving for that event. It was a 4-hour event. Last year we had 7 employees participate. So we are requesting again for the committee to consider allowing Dunn County to assemble a team and to pay them their regular wages for that time frame. And the date is September 16th this year.
And if you don't remember, if you did read through that committee, there's some specific rules that Jenna formulated in terms of, they can't be part of the court system and be missing a court date, that date and so forth, that they have to be available and request through their department manager that this will work out for their department. So that, not that 7 people from court system could all decide to take a afternoon and go pull weeds or something. So anyone care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion because I think it's a volunteer thing that should be, makes the county look good and makes the people look good for volunteering as well. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Mr. Bauer, second by Mr. Lenow for approval. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. We'll do that again, Jenna. Thank you. Review of vouchers. I get to start out just because I've got my microphone on. And this isn't, I don't think it's a discrepancy, except it just, to me, a discrepancy in the way it is. Under government centers and judicial center, we have amounts for heat and lights and natural gas. And I guess I don't know if these are equal in times of in terms of time, but I'm looking at it, the judicial center is almost 3 times of what the government center is. And especially the amount of natural gas, and maybe I don't think heat cook over there. That one surprises me also. So I wonder if we can just get a resolve back from somebody that might be able to tell us, put more light on that. But I mean, we got heat and light and natural gas use for the government center, 67, 78, 65, and natural gas use over the summer, $105, which we kind of expect. But when I look down here to judicial center, they supposed to use $5,186 in natural gas during that time and have used over $17,000 worth of electricity.
would there be a possibility that that's with the jail in addition to?
I would think it probably, well, that would be the jail really. It's the judicial center and jail.
The other potential, but I will definitely find out, we'll ask and find out. The other difference is that this building has geothermal heat.
Hmm.
And
It's true.
the jail would be running solely on
So, and
their.
if that's good, that's good. If that, if that's what's creating the difference,
Wow.
great. Yeah, no, you're right. And that's, but I just, and I know sometimes we get, a bill gets built to the wrong, section, and then it gets added, when it gets billed correctly, it gets added in, and we get a double billing too, but. Right, but I guess I just thought both of them are pretty good sized buildings, and what surprised me was the natural gas one, but. Part of it would be so much larger, but again, like you say, the geothermal overnight, it does get cool enough, you have to put some heat out there, so. Okay, that's all I have. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I have a few.
Okay,
Under 1150, under the treasurer's office, I see two publications here for $153 and $187 to DeWitt Carlton. Just wondering who and what that is.
that's the Boyceville Colfax newspapers
Oh.
for public.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a good reason
That one I
then.
knew.
And then under 1220, I see an expense here to Norman Bakke for $916. And then just prior to that, we're seeing family court commission of $3541.86 to the same Bakke Norman, and I'm just kind of wondering, court commissioner, what process das?
I know that. Dunn County has a court commissioner. It's a local attorney. Right now, it's Dave Schoenberger from the Bakke Norman Law Firm, who serves as a court commissioner for some general items, but is also primarily the family court commissioner. And so he hears initial proceedings for paternity cases, if they're not contested. He hears initial proceedings for actions to establish a child support order in cases where the parents have separated, or paternity was already established through some other means, like a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, or filling out the forms at the hospital. So he's pretty much every other Friday for half a day, and plus the time that it takes him to review orders and sometimes draft orders. He provides a lot of extra coverage for the courts. I did not find the specific items, but if I had to guess, I would say that they could be related to some legal services that had to be obtained either for a guardian ad litem, or could be related to the family court.
I just hadn't really seen court commissioner before, or hadn't noticed it anyway, and I just thought to myself, well, if we've already got him there for something, I don't know why we have.
It could be
this
they,
extra charge. That's all.
it could be they have two separate accounts, so they pay for family court services in one, and because a circuit court commissioner, which is similar but not exactly the same as a family court commissioner, can hear probate cases initially, can hear probable cause hearings and mental commitment proceedings, can do some motion hearings or default divorces. Well, that would be family court. There are other things. Plus, I think they can marry people too.
We can check. I see what you're referencing. One says family court commissioner and the other one says court commissioner F. So I'm not sure what that's on, what the rest of the word is behind the F.
I would assume family, but who knows?
Who knows, but we'll check.
Right, but anyway, just had caught a question about that. And a few more pages in. Here we go. This is under Department 1250, emergency communications, building rental, $3,600. I thought we had space here.
Don't know, but we'll find out.
What's that?
Don't know, but we will find out.
Okay, it's Wisconsin Educational Communications. And I thought to myself, okay, if we're paying building rental, where? That's all. Huh?
That's, I'm thinking tower for your seat,
Oh, a
but
tower.
Well-
Tower, communication tower.
Oh,
That we
that,
lease antenna space on would be my guess, but we can find out for sure, certainly.
but I just had building rental and I thought, wait a minute, we got empty
Yeah.
rooms around here. Okay. And then on the same page, a little farther down under patrol, under 1270. Maintenance contract, $1,840 to Trek 84 Incorporated. Maintenance contract of what?
Tell me again the cost. center
The
business?
1270
Oh, 1270, okay.
patrol. And it's a maintenance contract for 1840 to Trek 84 Incorporated.
Just find that on.
And I was just wondering what we're maintaining.
Well, we'll have to find out, I'm sure, but I think
Okay.
it could be the portable scanner or whatever, the metal the detector. Maybe some maintenance or something for that, or I don't know, body armor.
I don't know, $2,000 seemed like a pretty good amount, but that's all that I have, Mr. Chair. Oh, wait a minute.
They do
more
surveillance
item.
cameras,
Oh, no,
body scanner.
yeah, they've had some trouble with the body cams.
Yeah,
okay,
But I don't.
I think
that's
Chris
it.
will
I don't
have to
know they've
find
had
out and
problems
get
with the
back
body
to you.
cams.
okay, not a problem.
Oh, okay. That's under Motorola. You're well aware.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, motion to accept the vouchers then,
I'll make that motion.
okay,
Second.
and seconded. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, passes. Thank you all. And staff, thank you for helping out. Next is item 7, and consideration of reports, resolutions, and ordinances to the board that we would pass on from this committee. Our first for consideration is a resolution amending the inventory of job classifications. And that information was sent out again to you. And this is the one for the NDC, correct? Neighbors, okay. Anyone like to hear from Jenna or anybody about that? It was for a RN as a trainer for setting up our own training school for certified nursing assistants. And the hope would be that we could use that to our advantage, and that there would be more CNAs available. And obviously, hopefully number of them would stay with us, being that that's where they were trained, and they would be familiar with the facility, so.
Would that training only be available? Would that be open to the public or open to just our employees at this particular time?
Jenna?
It would be open primarily to the public, really anyone that doesn't currently hold a certification for that.
Mhm.
And so that would be the process for them to become certified, and then hopefully we would be able to hire them as a CNA. So would be mostly non-employees as
Okay.
students in the program. Could be other internal staff that don't currently hold a certification as well.
All right, will that certification, will the trainer have to be certified? And will that create a problem for the technical school in the area, since we're basically doing the same thing, right?
So the trainer has to be a registered nurse. And Carmen knows all the ins and outs of the requirements for that, but in order to have the program on site, there has to be a specific RN appointed to the job. So that's part of the request. We wouldn't be able to just pick any sort of RN that already works there. And they would have additional training in order to facilitate that.
Is that training that she already has at this particular time, or is this something that we'd have to make sure that she got?
We would, if the position is, or the classification is approved to be created, would recruit for the position. So we don't know that anyone internally has an interest, or, I mean, we'd have to vet that once the
Okay,
classification is approved.
all right, thank you.
Sure.
Do you know, at this point, are we? Is there gonna be a charge to them as a student if they don't stay with us? Is that something they would work off their education, or do you know what the proposal is for that?
I don't know any specific nuances with if they don't stay with the county or not. I think it's a flat rate,
Okay.
for the class.
Oh.
But it's policy decisions that could be brought forward as the program gets
Okay.
created. Part of the challenge is that you have to have a person appointed to be the instructor before you can actually submit to become a licensed training facility. Mhm.
And procedurally, Jenna, you're creating this, this classification, this position within the classification, and then there's a corresponding, I believe, personnel request in the 2023 budget for that trainer position. Is that correct?
That it would be added if the classification is approved.
Okay,
Mhm.
it's not in there now.
I can double check with the budget, but
Anyone care to make a motion to pass this on to the county? This will go to executive first, or right to the county board?
It's a resolution from the Committee on Administration, so we go to the county board. It would be reviewed as part of the Committee on
gotta get it-
Administration's review of things, ordinances and resolutions coming from the committees, but not for any action,
Not for
just
any action.
just reviewing it.
So,
Yeah, you could expect to see it at your September county board meeting.
just to add one more thing, if the classification is approved, we would hope to start the recruitment for the position prior to 2023. So as part of kind of that, we would make sure that it's included in the personnel costs. But the intent is hopefully to start the recruitment around November.
Supervisor Leon, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll make that motion to pass this on to the exec committee.
We would be
Or-
going to board. This would be
We would go to the full
resolutions
board,
approved by
okay.
us. Yeah,
Then I'll make that motion to go to the full board with review from exec.
okay.
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Bauer. Okay. Any discussion or questions?
I think also on that, I think we should discuss the idea of some carrot, so to speak, to keep employees, CNA folks to either lower the cost or maybe defray the cost of training over that time. If they remain for 6 months or a year with the county. Just as an idea.
Let the committee, let the NDC committee consider that.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Okay, all in favor of creating this job classification as outlined by in your paperwork that you have? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll approve passing this on to the county board. There's a second resolution, which is actually rescinding a previous resolution. And this is the one that we talked about over the tax settlement. That tax settlement was passed in 2015, and as Nick explained, with the idea that it would help the townships and so forth get their money up front. And there just hadn't been a whole lot of discrepancy between the number of collections and the amount of money that we in sense bought. And that has changed. And that's of course what our treasurer's graph shows. And then if you just over, you look at those last few years and add them up together, I mean, this is an up-to-date chart. So you can see that, going back, it's a considerable amount of money. So I guess our resolution is in your packet. I don't know if anybody wants it read to them. Basically, what it is doing is just what, our treasurer hoped to do, is that it would be something that would, I think, is it monthly? Yeah, that in other words, as we would allow to give them money monthly as we receive money. And so eventually it would become a situation where we would say, hey, we're not collecting anymore. And
Right.
and so, they would also be holding the bag for part of that, whether it be, Boyce, Colfax, or the town of Tiffany.
So as payments come in, they would be remitted to the taxing authority instead of just paying it all and then collecting it ourselves. As those payments come in through the county, they would be sent on a monthly basis. They would be, put all together and accounted for and then sent to the towns or villages or, whatever other taxing authority there would be.
I got a question.
Supervisor
More of a comment, I guess. I think this is the way it probably should be and always should have been. But has anybody put any thought into the villages and townships? If they don't get the money, are they gonna be in financial? Just a thought,
That, that has to do with what I had said earlier about, we're kind of the wealthy, fabulous member of the family that can take care of everybody. It's a legitimate concern. I don't know that it's a problem right now, but I think if it ever becomes an issue, certainly it's always subject to change. Dunn County has gone back and forth with this a couple of times or several times over the years. There was at one time, there was no limitation on the settlement. So it was the entire amount due, whatever it was. And then back in 2015, we decided to move back again to settlement with a dollar limitation per parcel limitation of $7,500. And so it seems to me like it's a pretty easy, thing to remediate. And it could always, if we end up having to go back toward that, we could set a lower limitation, like some counties still do it, but have a lower limit, like 5,000 per parcel or 2,500 per parcel. Most counties in the state now, however, do not have the full settlement. They make the monthly payments when proceeds come in, when the taxpayers actually pay something toward the special exception, special assessment, or special charges.
Question, Nick, a legal one for you, if you would.
Yeah.
If we go to that method, reverse this,
Yes.
does the township or does the county, does the township ever have the right to what do you call it? Take the property because of lack of taxes and payment, or is that just it has to go to the county?
Yeah, only the county has the right to do tax foreclosures. Towns and villages can't do that.
Okay, so we could help out from that standpoint. In a
Yeah,
sense, we
if it
still
was-
would do that.
Right.
I would say if we, lower the dollar value at this particular time, my concern is that if this property is on the rolls, and then all of a sudden, one year they owe 10,000 or 5,000 or whatever it might be. And then the next year's taxes come due and they own another 5,000. You know, at a certain point, we should maybe, you know, say, you know, after 2 years or 3 years or whatever, that there needs to be, you know, action, you know, taken to, you know, get this property transferred from the existing owner to somebody new.
What is the statute for that, Nick, in terms of, like, say, the county, you know?
Well, Dunn County utilizes what's called in rem foreclosure. So we actually file a legal action against the land. And we tell the person who owns it about the legal action by giving them notice. How it works is that after, so tax certificates are issued. I'm thinking the end of August. Tax certificates are issued. Once a tax certificate, and all that is a status. It's like clicking on a checkbox in the computer. So now there's a tax certificate. After tax certificates are 2 years old or older, then they become subject to foreclosure through the tax foreclosure proceeding. And we wait a little longer than just pulling the trigger right after 2 years, because it's still fairly labor intensive and costly to manage real estate, as opposed to reaching out over and over again to landowners to have them pay their taxes. We do a lot of outreach and it really pays off. Over the past 7 or 8 years, we've trimmed down the volume, the number of properties that we include in foreclosure actions. You know, they used to be 80 to 100 properties, and now we're getting actions with 10 or 12 just by doing outreach. But you have to wait that 2 years before you can move forward with foreclosure.
Okay, it seems like a reasonable time then. I just didn't want this to be, you know, some of these malingering on forever and ever. You know, 5, 6, 7 years out, all of a sudden now we're, you know, creating quite a tremendous liability.
Well, I'm just wondering if it could be is it possible that some municipalities take advantage of the fact that they can create these exceptions and special charges because they know they're going to get basically that back because their rich uncle is going to write them a check.
I was
So-
trying not to be gender specific.
Um,
It's always possible that some of the excess could come from that there's a, you know, the collection and outreach efforts aren't as much because of the settlement coming. But I don't know for sure.
Right.
Okay, well, anyone care to make a motion, one way or the other? Do we want to rescind this? No. We want to rescind the current resolution.
I will make a motion to rescind the current resolution.
Okay. Second,
I'll second.
okay, we have motion seconded. So again, there's a, you know, the treasurer, if you wish, you could contact it and say, you know, I'd like to see you, you know, present a new resolution with these parameters. You know, we could bring that up at another meeting. For now, we'll get rid of the old. And then, you know, we have the ability to move forward with something different.
That was my concern when Supervisor Tim was bringing up a reduced amount. Maybe we could bring it down and relook at it down the road here a little bit, maybe, or something.
Okay. All right.
I also want to just temper that a little bit too. I mean, in light of COVID, I know it's a well-used item at this particular time, but, you know, people are incarcerated and, you know, family situations are stuff. I still think we need a little bit more heart in regards to this, but at the same time, I see Supervisor Zahn's position too, that township kind of is going, okay, we can get the money on this, so, you know,
Yeah, then just maybe,
You
just
know, it's
writing a
just-
few more tickets.
yeah, yeah, you know, that kind of thing too. So I'm conflicted on this one myself.
Okay, all right. Well, all in favor of the motion to rescind the current resolution and current rules for settlement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll allow our treasurer to know that.
With recommendations.
And
also.
yeah, and
okay.
again, if we have some recommendation, we can put that on our next month's agenda. And maybe we should.
Well, this is going to be a resolution that comes to the county
Right.
board. It's
What they
it's a
may not
September
want
meeting.
to, may not pass.
Yeah, it's always subject to amendment from the floor. If any of you are desirous of making amendment, you maybe want to talk to the treasurer a little more. If you want to make an amendment, let me know and I'll draft up appropriate language to provide assistance to you.
Okay, I mean, if you wanted to do that but lower the amount, why,
You know, per parcel. Now,
sure,
You know, is per parcel means the same. oh. Per parcel means, you know, half acre plot or 40 acres or 200 acres is the same thing, right?
Yes, any area of land that has a tax parcel number.
Okay,
So if you have an undivided 40, that's your parcel.
okay,
If you have a half acre in a subdivision, that's your parcel.
okay. Or just point of clarification there, that's all.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we're down to announcements, including the next meeting. And we've already discussed that ahead of this meeting. The fact that the call of a special meeting on September, was it 19th?
Monday, September
September 19th, and what for the hearing from the auditor. Prior, that's a Monday, before the Wednesday board meeting, county board meeting.
I may have a conflict with Board of Adjustment on that.
Okay. You know what time?
Board of Adjustments 5:30, so
Okay. How soon could we? You don't have any other meetings at,
Nope, I'm open at it.
would 4:30? I'm thinking this is 20 to 30 minutes.
yeah, I 4:30 would be the absolute earliest I could get back and
Okay,
jump in the shower and ready to go for
Yeah,
a meeting.
okay. Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
could you
set you at the end of the
Yeah, yeah. I'll still have sawdust like my blue jeans.
and again, we can, it'll be Zoom
Yeah,
cable. So I mean, you could,
okay,
that works for everybody. Does that work for everyone?
so we don't have to come in,
Okay, all right. So that'll be for the purpose of
review the audit.
reviewing the county audit. Okay, and then we will still hold our regular meeting on the 22nd. You have 2 meetings that week, this committee, and that'll be here at 3 o'clock.
Okay,
Is that okay?
The 19th at 4:30.
Right, 19th at 4:30.
Zoom, and you'll send out all the info. on
Or
that.
here, I mean, if you wanted for some reason, come here. Well, we won't be in this room.
No, if you want to come here, we'll set up room 60 next door. but-
Zoom, there's no way I can pull that off, and the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah.
No way.
When is the second meeting again?
And the second one then will be our normal 4th Thursday, the 22nd, here at 3 o'clock.
All right.
Okay? Any other announcements? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you all. Thank all for the good questions.